ever since I was a child, I've often avoided watching a lot of sci-fi movies, especially realistic movies. By these movies, I mean things such as Resident Evil, because I've always had the belief that what if these things became real? And Step Up, Last of Us. Whilst for many people they knew this as a video game, I didn't even know it existed. I'm one of those people who started watching it because there's a new show on HBO and it's making the rounds. The first episode of The Last of Us for me is, in my humble opinion, one of the greatest TV series that I've watched in a long time. And I speak this from a technical perspective because watching it made me believe that everybody who showed up on set, who showed up in post-production and pre-production of this show came to work. No one came to play games. The first thing is, when we were watching the first scene, the production design, the color grading, the acting, everything about the first scene of that show for me was proof of what happens when everybody is passionate about the project that they are working on. Watching The Last of Us, man, I wasn't anticipating or expecting the next things that happened, but those first few minutes of that show really captivated, and for me made me realize where HBO is a GOAT when it comes to making TV shows. So the first scene starts out with a TV show whereby they're being asked to talk about different viruses, and they're speaking about what would happen essentially if a pandemic were to happen for viruses. And one of the guys goes, I'm not really scared of a virus pandemic. And that's something that, it hit home because it reminded me of COVID. And then the other guy starts talking about fungi and how fungi, if a pandemic of fungi happens, essentially it's game over because the world will not be prepared.
Temperatures. But what if that were to change? What if, for instance, the world were to get slightly warmer? Well, now there is reason to evolve. One gene mutates, and an Ascomycetia, Candida, ergot, Cordyceps, Aspergillus, any one of them could become capable of burrowing into our brains and taking control not of millions of us, but billions of us. Billions of puppets with poisoned minds, permanently fixed on one unifying goal: to spread the infection to every last human alive by any means necessary. And there are no treatments for this, no preventatives, no cures. They don't exist. It's not even possible to make them.
So if that happens,
we lose.
I wasn't prepared for what I was about to watch. The way he described what would happen if fungi was to take over, I was terrified, and I was like, I would take COVID any day. I'm not game to getting myself, dealing with humans turning into mushrooms. But then from then on, the movie or the film starts making you question, like, what am I watching? What's going on? And then we move into the different parts of the world when they start the world building, when we're introduced to the female character, the child and her father. Pascal, for me, man, he's been a legend. Like, his character in Game of Thrones was one of my favorite. I liked his charisma and I liked the way he acted that role. And then to carry on to this role where you're like, okay, so what am I watching? What's this about? Especially not knowing what the story is about. I thought it would have been like a COVID story, but it wasn't that. And the one thing that kept on captivating me was the cinematography in the shot in the pilot. How we're following this little girl with her life, with her father, the family dynamics. You're like, okay, I'm sort of understanding what's going on here. And then we move from there, we follow her, and the production design is just epic. The colors, the choices, the way they're dressed when she walks out and she's seeing that family with the grandma who has like things in her mouth, like cookies or stuff like that. You just like, something is odd about this. And the whole thing keeps you hooked that you want to watch it until the end. And then the police sirens, the scoring of the shot, the pilot episode is just beyond belief for me. Like, I was like, wow, I don't even know what I'm watching. And the other thing is, I'm somebody who watches HBO on my laptop. So in order for it to be able to look that beautiful back to me without even using like a high quality screen is something where I was like, wow, this is beyond amazing. And then the storyline, when it ends, it's only after I finished watching it that I researched and I was like, oh, this is actually a video game that's out and it's a story based off of a game. you know, I got hooked, but I got terrified as well, which is a good thing because I feel like that's the purpose of it. It's supposed to terrify you. And if you're somebody who plays video games, the last game that I played that's scientific and terrifying like that was Far Cry. And I'm thinking this is probably Far Cry 1, and it scarred me as a child. So I've never played games like that anymore. Um, and I believe they made a movie for Far Cry, and it was disappointing, But this one it just hits the right spots. It does the right things. Once someone is like, "Oh, what you're watching is a video game," you're like, "Yeah, it makes sense." Like the way he was carrying the child, and then when the child gets shot, and all that stuff. In this video, what I mainly want to touch about is the work that I've seen because I've watched 3 episodes of it. I really want to give props where props is due. The set design in episode 2, I felt like it was difficult for them recreating a world, like an outside world. I think that one is always difficult because now you have to incorporate blue screen a lot, and you have to incorporate a lot of VFX to make it work. So the design was not really that where you're like, oh, this is blowing my mind off. But the main thing with it was it helped highlight the story and highlight a post apocalyptic world, that how the world would be 20 years of a pandemic and nobody taking care of places. So that was beyond amazing. But then to start seeing where more respect goes like to the maker people, because when you start looking at those creatures, those people, when they turn into mushrooms, right, it's disgusting, but it's also terrifying at the same place. So, and it's so believable because of the camera movement, because of the cuts, because of the editing. The one main thing I really enjoy about this show is it just goes to show you what happens when talented people are interested in the story that they're telling. Because you can tell that everybody's working, everybody is on point, whether it's the extras, it's the actors, it's everyone who's involved with this show, for me, put in a lot of effort into it. And I was once told that the harder you work on a video, the harder you work on a piece, it reflects to the people who are watching it. I'm not here to break down the storyline because I don't really know the game and I don't know how it works. But for most people who've played the game, you probably understand where the story is going. Watching episode 3, I thought it was a little bit different from the different episodes, but even in that, just the way that it's shot to whereby, we're still following Joel and Els as they are moving, and when she goes down and sees that creature within the ground, and she has that moment with it, because you don't really know if it's a him or her. The attention to detail with everything, the way it turns into this mushroom, and when it's cut, what happens, and just this, man, it's just something different. And then obviously when we follow the couple, how the couple story is told, and one of my favorite shots within that is the last shot of it, whereby the camera pulls back into the bedroom to whereby it leaves us thinking about, oh, we want more, we want to see what happened, but it's more of, we have an understanding of, okay, do not step into the bedroom because, people died and the bodies will be decomposing and stuff like that. It is all valid, but I just like the way they told that story, following that couple. I think for me, if I was someone who's to be left in an entire city by myself, I had questions, okay, listen, this thing took over for a period, I'm believing 10 to 20 years. And how was this guy being self-sufficient if there is no production? After 20 years, I'm guessing if you have access to stores for that period of time, you would have the food, but like at some point it will go bad, no? But it's a movie. The main things that left me, I had never seen a gay couple portrayed in a way like that. I feel for myself, if you had to ask me, if someone came and I was living by myself and they fell into a trap, would I save them or would I let them go? I really do not know. I'm probably one of those paranoid people who like, why are you here? I don't have enough resources. But I don't think anybody wants to be alone, and you don't want to be the last person on this planet. So it told a different story, which was very engaging, which was very different. I feel like for me, I had never seen something like that before. And to the actors, I say kudos. That's the main thing that I like about the show, is just everybody shows up to work, everybody is prepared, everybody is on point, no one slacks. A lot of times different shows, it's like you can tell that the people involved were not into what they were doing, and that's just something up to these 3 episodes that I can say, wow, amazing work, guys. Let me know in the comment section if you've watched it, if you're following through the storyline, what you are enjoying about it, and what are your different takes from it. For me, it's just the production design is beyond, the cinematography is crazy, the directing, the editing, everything about it, the pacing is just perfect. The episode 3 is like 1 hour 15 minutes. I didn't even see the time pass. That's how beautiful and special the show is to me. So yeah, let me know in the comment section what are your thoughts are. If you're somebody who enjoys the reviews that I do, I did a review on Avatar, The Way of the Water. You can watch that. And then on the other section, we have a video that YouTube thinks is better.